Do a lot of Americans actually believe that the world envies them? I'm Australian. I met a guy at a wedding recently. He was also Australian but loved the US far more. He said in the US there was a much more urgent need to do better in order to survive. He loved the frenetic edge of competing in business. I couldn't agree, as I like as quiet and chilled life as possible, but I guess I could understand his point. As a generalization, all the engagements I see on here from Americans discussing how it's the greatest country. That's why so many people are constantly trying to move there. I've met a lot of awesome Americans in person. And I have met a lot extreme personalities. I spent a few months in various parts of the US and there is a lot of fun and constant things to do. Consumerism at peak. Cinemas. Restaurants. Random events. Concerts with amazing artists. Art shows. Theater. Etc. 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 But I could never live there myself. The healthcare. The extremist mentality often encountered. Left versus right. Religious versus not. Race versus race. This opinion versus that. Employment regulations. And healthcare all put me off. As an anecdote, I remember being at the airport in a foreign country waiting to mobilize to a remote project for the first time. I sit down next to an American while waiting for check-in. Very small airport. He kicks off a conversation of nice enough. He asks where I'm from. Australia. Next thing he is talking about his gun collection and how awesome it is and how unlucky and oppressed Australians are. Next topic is college football. And he kept looking at me like I was stupid for not knowing certain players or teams. And for not being up to date with the current rankings. Finally he brings up the election between Clinton and Trump, asks me who I support. Well, I haven't looked into the different policies, but as a pretty much guess Hillary seems more qualified. Boy did he take offense. And then says, well, who is the current leader of Australia? Oh, never heard of him. That's the difference between America and the rest of the world. People know us. Talk about us, not the other way around. Implying USA is literally the center of the world. I encountered many more personalities very similar to that while working with that American company. Not all of them, but a huge number. Consider the huge amount of propaganda they are fed every day. At every moment in all the media. All the portraits of all countries in all USA media always shows the other countries like inferior or troubled and in need of the USA. A lot of people have no idea at all of how it's the world outside the USA. I live in Australia and you couldn't pay me to live in the US. I would never want to live in a country where my children would have to do active shooter drills at school. They really drive it into your brains that it is worse in literally every other country. It's even still hard to shake that mindset. I think that some people in the US think that others envy portions of the US. Perhaps the party life of Miami or the Broadway of New York. The Hollywood aspect of California. Las Vegas for lights. I don't know. Whatever. Cows in Texas. Music in Nashville. But I don't think that the majority of the US believes that the world envies us as a whole. Just like any other country, we have positives and we have negatives. Enviable bits and otherwise. I mean, a lot of people do want to live in America and we get a lot of immigrants, including from other highly developed nations. So while I don't think most people are envious of Americans, any more than they're envious of Canadians or Germans, there certainly is something that draws all these people in. There are people in Russia and even North Korea who genuinely believe the propaganda that they live in the best nation because they're populist propaganda, even if they understand that they are poorer than most other places. They can still believe that everywhere else is worse because they are morally and culturally better. Their nation is more loved by God, etc. As a mostly right-winged American, one suggest you stay away. It sucks here and everything is political. And I mean everything. We could have a political war over the sky is blue if someone suggested it. And it's ridiculous. I'll be promptly moving somewhere that's not here as soon as I can. I think those who have traveled outside the US don't. However, it was instilled in me for a long time that everyone wanted to come here. Grateful for the things that are good here, but know a lot of people would not trade places with us. Yes, it's mainly people on the right have this mindset. It's probably my favorite third world country. They bombed some people. Who in their right mind pays for cable anymore? Grandparents? I don't understand why people move here from other countries. There are so many better options. I'm European, in my mid-20s, and have lived in 3 different European countries thus far. I've met almost 0 people that said they would like to move to the US on a permanent basis. Lol. Yep, we have the most effective propaganda machine in the world. It also doesn't help that so much of our news is focused on immigration into the US rather than any emigration out. As a non-American, I can safely say a resounding, phew no. And even more so since COVID. But, you're asking, generally, if Americans think this. And I'm sure they do. I mean, of course they do. Especially the right-wing ones. Probably. But also take into account that you're watching Fox News and they're more of a parody of news than actual news. It's all propaganda made to appeal to a specific audience.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.